It always comes to this. More nice shit. Well there guys, here again to do another tattoo progress update. Where I last left off, I'd showed off the lining on parts of the inside of my arm, etc. We did more of that this week, but I'll get into it. Now my right arm, which was fully redone with the red, is about 2 weeks healed, and it seems to be keeping that same redness. It's still a little bit dry in some places. Obviously, when you've had as many layers as I have, you're going to take a little while to heal from something like that fully. The initial stage of healing goes really, really fast for me, and then the deep tissue seems to take a while longer. Same as this in places is still a little bit ashy, but I think probably within the next week or two that'll be mostly done. That week I'd also had 3 sessions in a row, more or less, and so my body was probably worked a little hard. With that said, I had a lighter week this week. I did not have a session with Terry. Finally getting to kind of that place where I had talked about a little while ago, where I was going to be kind of alternating weeks with Terry. I had a lot to do for a while, and now I'm getting to the edge of that, and we're about to start my next big project, but even then, I think I'm going to be slowing down with Terry just in general, because we're kind of winding down the projects that I want to do right now. I still have some more ideas for the future with him, but it's going to be mostly Rick and the odd thing with Terry again, like it was for quite a while last year. It was when I first started working with Terry, I was only getting tattooed by him, you know, once a month or something. And then we ramped up because I had all these little projects that I wanted to take care of, and Rick had his hands full with the torso, so I have my little hatchet man on the side, you know, doing little bits and bobs that I've been wanting to get at for years or however long. I generally prefer to be working with 2 artists to begin with. So with that said, I have a session with Terry coming up this week. We're going to be hitting my head one more time. I think this will be the final session on my head before I grow my hair in again. I don't think I'm going to grow my hair in again right away, but probably over the next few months here I'll start growing it in again. I seem to get this urge around spring / early summer every year or two. I think it comes every year, but I don't give into it every year, where I just want to be bald. And I think it's probably the heat or something. It's animalistic. It's almost primal, you know? Like, it gets hot out, you don't want the hair. It's not something that I'm thinking about all year. It just seems to happen. It's probably why I'll never have my hair real long again. You know, my wife would prefer me to grow it out, but partly because of the ease of being bald and the coolness of being bald in summer, and also the fact that I have a full head tattoo. For me, more than anything, I like checking in on it every now and then. With that said, I plan on doing the red highlights again, like the brighter red, because those always needed to be done twice, and we just haven't gotten to it yet. And I want to do a thicker outline on the thorns on my head to match the thorns on my arm, because now that we've got the red base established there, we can go over some of the white and some of the red, and we can make that outline a little bit thicker and show off a little bit more. The black will look blacker because now it's being done on on red and white instead of the black that it was originally done on. And yeah, it will make the whole crown stand out a bit more. I also might do just a bit more red in the front. I don't think anywhere else needs it. There might be a few places, I'm not sure, we'll see. But it'll be a relatively short session. I don't picture any more than an hour for that, maybe less. But I've had, I think, 11 sessions on my head this year, so, probably not needing to do a whole lot up there is a good idea. I had a lot of fun working on my head. This is just an upfront. I seen a guy here at the shop getting his head tattooed last year, and it made me envious. I enjoy getting head tattoos. I didn't enjoy getting my neck worked on so much last year. I preferred the head, so it was a nice little side project for the year. It's nice to have little side quests or whatever to go on, within the tattoo world, where it's like you have a main journey that you're picking away at, and then something else in the back burner, some little mini project. Or, of course, 11 sessions shouldn't be most people's mini project, but with what I'm doing, it ends up being that many sessions, even for smaller pursuits like a full head tattoo. I think this guy has done really well this time. The highlights did really good, so I don't think we're going to have to do any more on him. But I am open to it. And hopefully it all ages well now that we have the opaque grays and all of that. I made sure I went camping this weekend, and I was out in the sun quite a bit, and sunscreen is not enough. Obviously you use it, but I had a hat on the whole time, and long sleeves for most of it. I will say I'm not much fun to camp with. I'm always the guy looking for shade. So, and if you're heavily tattooed, you probably should be that guy as well. I see a lot of people that down there not taking care of their tattoos, and they're all baked. They look like lobsters. And I just imagine what the sun is doing to their ink, And I worry that it's doing it to mine as well. I'm a little paranoid about that always in the sun. So, with that said, I had a session with Rick. We did all of this. So, more re-outlining, more boldening, some more black packing in some places. And I can say, even though it's not the most exciting thing to do this far into the sleeve project, to be boldening up outlines and, darkening things, the black does seem to work better the second time. When we first outlined it, I don't think that it was as solid. And so when it's not as solid, it just doesn't stay as well. Although I will say there are some parts of this now that have been done with the black outline this for the third time now. This part in particular, in the dip of my arm here, does not seem to want to stay. And I think until we get the color in there with it, or white, or whatever we end up using, it's just not going to be super visible. Because it's super black now, but there's parts of this that are easier to saturate than others. But as you can see, when you do get that all working together, it stays. So it's a case of, we just need to get at it, And unfortunately, we aren't going to get at it anytime soon. Because next week we're going to be doing more of that. Rick wants to come through and blacken, darken up some things, refine a few things on the top, and maybe some more on the bottom. And then he's going to Mexico for a few weeks. And I think I've touched on this before, but the fact that Rick's going to Mexico gives me concern. Not because I'll miss a few appointments, because I will. I'll be off. I'm making this September 5th. My next appointment, I think, is the 11th with him. I think so. But then we won't work on this again until sometime in October. It just works out that way because we're always doing it when the shop's closed. Rick and I will miss a couple of those appointments. But anyway, it'll be nice to give the arm a break, I'm sure. We've been working on it now almost 20 weeks in a row kind of thing. I think we've had a few breaks. We're somewhere around 19 or 20 sessions already, and if you've been watching this all along, you know that I said that this would take between 40 and 60 sessions, maybe even 60 to 80 sessions, and we're right on course for that. I do think that after we get this next session of black done, though, we really do need to hit the color and just start working on the color passes, because every part of the color is going to need to be done at least twice, maybe 3 times for certain things. If we want highlights, it's my understanding that this will need to be done a second time. Not that it isn't there, not that it isn't clear, but Rick wants that to be a focal point, and there will be other focal points. And so we need to start laying the passes down, or this could easily turn into 100 hours or 100 session sleeve and be even longer. Because as we learned with my torso, if you don't get the contrasting elements in there to back up the black doesn't vanish. It's just not as contrasted, and it's harder to see, and it's hard to put things in and around the black. It's really complicated, and unless you see the skin and how it reacts to all of this, it's going to sound like mumbo jumbo, but it's not. It's a proven science at this point, and that's why these things are aging the way they are. You know, we have the white and the black working together. The parts of the skin is lightened and parts of the skin is darkened, and so we keep contrast. If you just do one or the other, it just doesn't stand out as well. Same as this stuff this is all past a year, 2 years. Like, all of this shit is getting to an age that most people would have expected it to be gone by now, and it's all working off of the same principle of light in some areas, dark in other areas. That said, it was around 2.5 hours. There's actually a lot. It's hard to show off. It's always hard to show off a sleeve, you know, like, it really is. There's got to be a better way to do this. Like, even like I seen a person sent in a Baphomet tattoo recently, and they had like 3 clips put together, almost like they were showing a back piece, but it's an arm. It didn't quite work out, but it was the best way I've seen to try and show a sleeve in one shot. It's just really hard. Even videos don't do justice. In person is the best way to see a sleeve, really. But obviously we're not there. Yeah, so really easy session. The whole upper arm is pretty easy for me. My inner bicep is incredibly callous. I don't feel much of that. There's not much connectivity and nerve there anymore. Some places get more painful with passes. Some places get less. I talk quite often about, I'll just touch on this briefly, about how most of me's been tattooed between, 5 to 30 times now. And when people see this and they think it's my 3rd sleeve, they're not understanding layering. So for example, this patch of black has been saturated 3 times now. Most of this arm, by the end of this sleeve, will have been done several times. Same as my last sleeve and the sleeve before it. And the various reworks on that sleeve. It's not just one picture and done. It's very rarely that with tattoos. It's not like, oh, he's had everything tattooed 3 times. No. I wish it was that simple. I would have gotten to my desired results. Maybe I don't wish it was that simple, because things would be done so fast. I wouldn't have any time to enjoy it. And that's the other thing, like, sometimes I'm thinking, like, oh man, I can't wait to get farther on the sleeve, but it's like, so that I can what? I'm going to end up tackling something else. I like getting tattooed, so it's always going to be a make work project. I do think that there's an end to that eventually, but since I'm nowhere near that point now, it's like, I guess I don't really need to be in a hurry, but it is just like sometimes wishing that that I could make all of the decisions. I do make a certain amount of them, but when it comes to actually doing the tattoo, sometimes Rick will get his wheels spinning, Where with Terry, he just did it as I said. He didn't have that old school, I know what's best, and it actually worked for him better. Like, I get so many people who ask me why my stuff is holding up, and it's because I've observed it, I'm being informed by what I see my body doing, how it's healing and what isn't working versus what is working. And then when I just tell that to Terry, he's like, well, I've never done this before, so you're the boss. Like when I suggested to do this red outline on the moon, which I barely talked about since, but it really was a great idea. Like, I have to fucking pat myself on the back for that, and you'll see more of this coming. And I think that that by the time I'm done, you're gonna see a lot more experimental tattooing in general. Like, I plan on doing some yellow outlines in places and shit too. Like, I plan on really doing a lot more insane stuff that, like, just would have never been thought of before. And the best thing is that I have no apprehension. It's all been positive for the most part. So why stop now? Anyway, I'm rambling. It's been a bit of an interesting few days, so I'm in a bit of a different headspace. Yeah, we got quite a bit done. We're gonna do more of this black again. It is making it stand out more. It's just I want to get onto the color now. We were having fun doing color, and now we're getting bogged down again. And I had a lot more fun with the color. But whatever, you got to eat your dinner before you eat your dessert, I guess. That's just life sometimes. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Have a great day.